The war between Russia and Ukraine caused a huge shortage of grains all around the world.
Today, Moscow announced it will not renew the year-long deal that allowed Ukraine to export its grain through the Black Sea.
A global food security crisis. Wheat and corn prices skyrocketing.
Ukraine holds a pivotal position as one of the world's largest grain exporters, supplying a significant portion of the global food market. Approximately 400 million people depend on Ukrainian food supplies to meet their dietary needs. However, the Russia-Ukrainian war brought about a grave humanitarian crisis when Russia imposed a blockade on the Black Sea, which serves as a crucial route for Ukraine's food transportation. As a result, there was a substantial disruption in the flow of food supplies from Ukraine, leading to a massive food shortage. The situation was further compounded by the ongoing pandemic, which had already exerted pressures on the global food supply chain, leading to rising food prices. The blockade during the war contributed to a steep escalation in food prices, exacerbating the hardships faced by vulnerable populations worldwide. The United Nations projected that up to 181 million people would confront acute food crises due to these combined factors, further straining an already dire situation. But Russia surprisingly made a very unpredictable move and has promised to provide free grains to 6 countries.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says Russia can replace grain exports to Africa.
President Vladimir Putin has now promised free grain supplies to 6 African nations.
Russia has announced its plan to send a significant amount of grain aid, totaling 50,000 tons each, to 6 countries facing severe food crises, including Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Eritrea, and the Central African Republic. These nations have been particularly hard hit by food shortages and are at risk of experiencing widespread starvation. This humanitarian gesture by President Putin has garnered attention and raised eyebrows, considering the ongoing food crisis was partly caused by Russia itself, following pressures from Western countries. Nonetheless, Russia's aid package reflects a proactive effort to support some of the world's poorest nations, providing them with substantial grain supplies. In contrast, there has been limited action from the United States and the European Union in assisting these vulnerable countries during their time of need. This move may project Russia in a more favorable light internationally, as it demonstrates willingness to address urgent humanitarian concerns and offer assistance where it is desperately required. The grain shipments have the potential to alleviate the suffering of millions of people in these afflicted nations, underscoring the importance of international aid and cooperation during times of crisis. Nevertheless, it also highlights the complexities of geopolitical dynamics and the need for consistent and comprehensive global efforts to tackle food insecurity and ensure sustainable food access for all. However, amidst these efforts, the situation remains complex and contentious due to Russia's involvement in bombing Ukrainian facilities. Vladimir Putin asserted that Russia is well equipped to replace Ukrainian grain in both commercial trade and as grant aid to the neediest African nations, citing expectations of another record harvest. The masterstroke of move by Russia appears carefully calculated, aiming to replace Ukraine in the African market, which comprises approximately 1.3 million people. In response to Putin's announcement, the West has expressed skepticism and reservations. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres indirectly criticized donations of grain to developing nations, implying that such gestures cannot fully compensate for the impact of Russia's cutoff of grain exports from Ukraine, given that both countries are major suppliers to the global market. Similarly, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, highlighted that Russia's promise to donate grain to African nations cannot serve as a replacement for their withdrawal from the deal on Ukrainian grain. The U.S. State Department further weighed in, highlighting its substantial financial contribution to the World Food Program, covering approximately half of its budget, whereas Russia's contribution amounts to less than 1%. This underscores the United States' active commitment to addressing urgent food security concerns globally. Nevertheless, there remain doubts and suspicions among some regarding the effectiveness and efficiency of how these funds are utilized and whether they genuinely benefit the intended recipients in dire need of food assistance. The situation at hand is undeniably complex, and Russia's move appears to be a meticulously calculated and advantageous step. By aiming to replace Ukrainian grains in Africa with their own, Russia stands to gain substantial benefits. Additionally, the aid provided to African countries could have positive impacts on their food security and well-being. As the events unfold, it will be intriguing to observe how the West responds to this development and its potential implications on the global grain market and geopolitical landscape. Thank you for joining us in this discussion. If you found the content valuable, we kindly ask you to support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Stay tuned for more insightful content in our upcoming videos. See you next time.